It's so problematic, but I don't have the answer either to even it out. Do you know what I mean? Because even for myself, when I fell pregnant, and I love Sheryl Sandberg's book, which so for this baby, I've got a real buzz in my belly for career at the moment, and I'm not going to let, falling pregnant stop that. With my last baby, I did. I felt a bit bullied by the men I was working with, and I lost my job, and I thought, shit, this is all over. But I also go, we naturally need to take time off to be with our babies.
And so do men.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But I feel like for a little while too, in terms of feeding, if you breastfeed and things like that, your career sometimes does naturally, majority of the time, take a bit of a backseat. Yeah. So then I feel like a lot of women are overlooked for roles, and also in ourselves probably don't go as hard as we should for things. What do you see as the answer to get those numbers more even?
Well, I think first of all, we need to look at the fact that work-life balance, if that's a term that you like to use, is sort of overused as a term, but that idea of having a life is important for everyone, whether or not they're a parent, whether or not they're a woman or a mother, for men and for fathers as well. It's really important, just as any member of the community, to try to balance work and life, because obviously if we're continuing to move towards a culture where it's acceptable or even encouraged to be at work at 7, at 8 p.m., to be answering work emails when we're at home, you're so focused on work that you're not really allowed to be a whole human. So I think there's an issue there just about obsession with economics and being on that, in that rat race, on that treadmill, and it's very hard to get off, right? So that's one issue. It's complicated. There's no easy answer for it, but it's about trying to balance, of course. It's what we all try to do. Yeah. But there are very specific issues to do with workplace flexibility that affect women, and obviously really big problems in terms of women being overlooked and women being discriminated against because they're pregnant, because they're mothers, or because they're even of the age that they could become mothers. They might not even have a partner or any interest. They may never have a child, but they're of an age where some employer thinks they might, and therefore will overlook them. And there's unfortunately data on this. You can see that women who are of reproductive age are treated differently from men who are of a reproductive age where they might have a family, So I think there's a cultural issue there that needs shifting. And we also need to look at more workplace flexibility for men, because we need someone to be there. You don't want to simply always have to use nannies and childcare. That's going to be the right option for some people, but not for everyone. So if more fathers recognize that they can spend time with their children and find that rewarding as well, that will take the burden off mums from just being one or the other. Because you want to be able to live a full life, and whether that means being a stay-at-home parent as a father or mother, or whether that means working full-time, it's up to the individual. And those options need to be there, and also part-time work can be great for some people, working at home. It's going to be different for different people, and we need to make those options available, both in terms of policy at organizations, but also socially acceptable for both men and women, so they can really make choices for themselves and their families.
It does feel like there's still, I look back and I go, God, we have come a long way, but it feels like there's so much still there in that shift of, of that flexibility.
Well, I mean, in terms of the actual data, there's a huge gap between what fathers are saying that they want and what they're actually doing in terms of spending time with families.
Right.
And the data also shows that the more male-dominated their occupation as the workforce, the less likely they are to ask for workplace flexibility to spend time with their children, and the less likely they are to get it if they ask. So there's a social issue there in terms of, all my mates here at work, they're going to think I'm a bit,
it's so
sissy because I want to be home with my baby. But of course you do. It's your baby, right? And like you said, as a mom, you want to be able to breastfeed. If that's what you want to do, you need to take time to do that. But there are ways that different families can work it out, whether it's time off or actually, having both parents there. For my husband, he took some time off of teaching at uni so he could be there with me, and we traveled everywhere together when I was doing book tours,
Yeah.
so that we could do it as a team, you know? So for individual families, they can find solutions. And we were very lucky we had the level of flexibility that we did. But other people need to also be able to giving some options, you know? And I think very often there's a workplace culture that's preventing that.
Definitely. Because the other day I said to, or we've spoken about, because I said to Sam, I'm like, how long can you take off? I really want you home as long as you can. And he was like, I can probably take a month. And I'm like, to me, in my head, I'm like, that's pathetic. I need to be home longer than that. But he also, at the same time, mentioned because another guy at his work only took 2 weeks. So, and I thought, that's in your mind, but who cares? We're never getting this time back. Like,
that's right.
We're going to look back in 20 years and go, you went back to do this. Like, do you know what I mean?
That's right. And you know, you need to just look at it as people having options, and they shouldn't be made to feel like their option is, you know, the wrong choice because it's different than what someone else is doing. There are going to be some mums who want to be stay-at-home parents, stay-at-home carers, and will love that and thrive with that, and others who will find that stifling because they want to be doing work outside the home, and vice versa. There are going to be men who are fantastic stay-at-home parents, wonderful, but they might not be encouraged because there's no fathers group for them to attend, or there's no, you know, specific kind of dialogue happening about how they can be parents as well. So I think we probably need to open up the conversation a bit, and even people who aren't parents, we need to think about workplace flexibility to live, so that we're not just constantly feeling like we're working these extremely long hours, and that's a new expectation, not a choice, but an expectation. If you want to stay in the game, if you want to get ahead, you've got to be answering work emails at midnight, you know? So there's quite a few issues there, but there is change. You know, there's some progress, I think, and it's probably important to keep having more dialogue about it, and look at workplace policies, and for businesses to be, you know, parent-friendly, child-friendly, breastfeeding-friendly, all of these things that make a huge difference to individuals.
Huge difference, yeah.